Namaste. Today is the 23rd day of July 2022, and we continue with the synthesis of yoga with our beloved Ranga, and we have begun a new chapter today, Chapter 5, the synthesis of the systems. And you'll do a little recap of the previous first.
Before we start, in fact, the name of the book is The Synthesis of Yoga. So, in India, we have many systems of yoga, and he has listed and discussed all of them in the previous chapter. The chapter being the systems of yoga, and he has also discussed the conditions of their synthesis. So, he has discussed mostly Hatha Yoga in some detail, Raj Yoga in some detail, and then the three well-known systems of the Jnana Yoga, the Bhakti Yoga, and the Karma Yoga. To use English words, Hatha Yoga concentrates on the body, the Raj Yoga concentrates in the mind, and the three systems...
No, Bhakti Yoga.
Pardon?
Bhakti Yoga.
Yeah, Bhakti Yoga is concentration on the emotions in the emotional center, and Jnana Yoga also is there. It's a traditional path. Raj Yoga is also a system of Jnana Yoga, but it is more detailed and very, very scientific. Okay, it goes step by step, and you know exactly the path that is fixed. It doesn't account for individual variations, but there is a very fixed path. I told you last time.
Yes,
the eight steps.
The 8 steps. Yes.
Yama, Niyama, then that is the moral training that you get. Then you do the asanas to make the body steady and firm and also free of disease. Then you come to the vital. You do pranayama, breathing exercises, and breathing exercises definitely purifies the vital and also makes it firm and steady. Then you come to Karma Yoga. All your actions, all your thoughts, all your emotions, you remember and offer to the Lord. So these are the three systems. He has dealt with them in some detail. So, in the last paragraph of that, he has discussed the possibility of a synthesis. So, I'll read out the summary. It's a very small para, but I'll read out the summary of what he is saying in that para. Then we will start the synthesis.
Good.
So what he is saying in this last paragraph of the previous chapter, from the integral point of view, we can see that all the three paths are really one, leading to the union with the divine. Okay? Then he says, divine love should normally lead to perfect knowledge because of intimacy with the personal divine. So it becomes the path of knowledge. On the other hand, love naturally associates itself with service to the divine. Therefore, it can give the results of Karma Yoga. Then he says, conversely, knowledge of the divine should automatically end in the love and joy of the divine. Karma Yoga also culminates in love for the master of the sacrifice. So, the three paths can merge in the end. So now this is what he said in the last paragraph of the previous chapter. So now he starts discussing how to synthesize all of them. Okay? So, two things he will tell you in the beginning. You can't do them all pell-mell all together. You can't do that because it will be a confusion rather than a synthesis. And the other thing is, you can't do them all one by one serially, except in the case of Ramakrishna, because he was an extremely a genius of no ordinary stature. He was extraordinary. So he did that. Each one he practiced 6 months, and got the essence of each one. Yeah, when we come to that, I'll go that into a little bit. So, how to do the synthesis is what he's going to suggest. I'm reading the first paragraph. By the very nature of the principal yogic schools, each covering in its operations a part of the complex human integer and attempting to bring out its highest possibilities, it will appear that a synthesis of all of them largely conceived and applied might well result in an integral yoga. But they are so disparate in their tendencies, so highly specialized and elaborated in their forms, so long confirmed in the mutual opposition of their ideas and methods, that we do not easily find how we can arrive at their right union. So, you can't practice all of them together. In fact, they even contradict each other. We know very well that reason and emotions are contradictory.
Yes.
Okay, so this is always the problem in many philosophies also. So there is a famous saying of, I think it was Pascal, who said, Le cœur a, this is French, okay. Le cœur a ses raisons que la raison ne connaît pas. The heart has its reasons that reason does not know. So, this conflict is there between them, and Srivda is mentioning this conflict. The body's tendency is to be in the physical world and act. And on the other hand, the Jnana Yoga is telling you, don't let your mind act, make it silent. So, all these contradictions are there. Okay, so Srivda is saying, you can't practice all of them together. They're contradictory.
And this does not even take into consideration the Buddhistic philosophies.
Yeah,
He doesn't even mention them here.
yeah. That's right. So, then how to do it if you don't do together? He will tell you little by little. Okay? So, we go to the next para. An undiscriminating combination in block would not be a synthesis but a confusion because of the contradictions between each systems. Nor would a successive practice of each of them in turn be easy in the short span of our human life, and with our limited energies, to say nothing of the waste of labor implied in so cumbrous a process. So, nor can you practice them all together, nor can you practice them in sequence one after the other. Time is too short for the second one, and in the first one there is too much of confusion.
And so, Ramakrishna, can you tell us a little more?
We'll come to that.
Good.
Okay. Ramakrishna, as Hindu says, his function in this life was to show that all religions are valid and they all lead to God through different paths. So, in Bengali, Joto Path Tato Math. That means to say that as many systems there are, okay, they are all different ideals and different, but so many paths are there. Each one has got its own path, but they all lead to the same thing. He gave the image of a water tank. So everybody goes to get water from the tank, okay. Somebody calls it water, somebody calls it l'eau in French, somebody calls it jol, okay. There are so many different things. So whether you go from the mental path, or you go from the emotional path, or you go from the action path, they are all going to the same thing. So that was his purpose in life. And he wanted to show that, and he practiced, since you are asking for it, okay, he practiced Islam, he practiced Christianity, he practiced Buddhistic disciplines. So each of these religions, in a short span of 6 months, around 6 months, he practiced each one. And you won't believe, when he was practicing Islam, okay, he wouldn't even look at Hindu god images. So intense and concentrated was his system. He even wore a skull cap. Yeah. And then, when he was practicing Christianity, also the same thing. He would concentrate only on Christ. And he found each one leading to the same thing. So he did this, and there are other Indian systems. So I'll tell you that how intense was his practice. he practiced also the, in the Ramayana we have a character called the Hanuman. Hanuman is the monkey god. And this is not very well understood in the West, but the animal part of you is the emotional part, the vital energy. And Hanuman represents the vital energy. He is the son of the wind god. So, and when he opens his chest, he finds the images of Ram and Sita inside. So he represents immense force. And when you can contact your psychic being, the amount of force and energy that you get is unbelievable. So Hanuman represents the awakening of the psychic through devotion. And he practiced Hanuman yoga, okay? And it is said that when he did that, there were biological changes in his body. His coccyx bone grew by a few inches. This tail.
Oh.
When he practiced Radha Bhava is the devotion of Radha for Krishna. That also he practiced. And when he practiced that, his body underwent, there were female signs on his body. Okay? There were changes in his breast. So such was his intensity and sincerity. It even translated into physical terms. Okay? So he is extraordinary. Srimdu will tell you that uncomparable. So that is what he did. But we can't do that because we are ordinary people. So when you want to do Jnana Yoga and Bhakti Yoga together, they will clash. Obviously. So you can't do that. Because it has to be one tract. Okay? Then you can't practice them all one by one also in one sequence because time is too short in one life.
Yes, yes.
So that's what he's saying. So how do you do? He will tell you. Okay? An indiscriminating combination in block would not be a synthesis but a confusion. Nor would a successive practice of each of them in turn be easy in the short span of our human life and with our limited energies, to say nothing of the waste of labor involved in so cumbrous a process. Sometimes, indeed, Hatha Yoga and Raj Yoga are thus successively practiced. And in a recent unique example in the life of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, we see a colossal spiritual capacity first driving straight to the divine realization, taking, as it were, the kingdom of heaven by violence, and then seizing upon one yogic method after another, extracting the substance out of it with an incredible rapidity, always to return to the heart of the whole matter, the realization and possession of God by the power of love, by the extension of inborn spirituality into various experience, and by the spontaneous play of an intuitive knowledge. So, I'll finish the paragraph, then we'll come back to it. Such an example cannot be generalized. Its object also was special and temporal, to exemplify in the great and decisive experience of a master soul the truth now most necessary to humanity, towards which a world long divided into jarring sects and schools is with difficulty laboring, that all sects are forms and fragments of a single integral truth, and all disciplines labor in their different ways towards one supreme existence.
Experience?
Supreme experience. To know, be and possess the divine is the one thing needful, and it includes or leads up to all the rest. Towards this sole good we have to drive, and this attained, all the rest that the divine will chooses for us, all necessary form and manifestation will be added. So, it's quite clear what he is saying, and he has described the Ramakrishna is saying very much, but he is, maybe you know, maybe you don't know, I don't know, but why he is saying the kingdom of God by violence? Because this is something extraordinary what he did. Okay. He was, long ago, when the cinema started in the playground, way back in 1955 or maybe 56, it was a small screen, and one of the first films projected was a film on Ramakrishna. And mother was watching that, and one scene is there where he is rolling on the coast of the Hooghly River, the Ganga, okay, and saying, "Show yourself to me, show yourself to me. Dakha de, dakha de." He is writhing in pain. He is so intense was it. So that is the violence that he is talking about. So it was, and Sri Aurobindo does not recommend that violence. He says it should be a calm, quiet, peaceful, because he paid a price for it. Ramakrishna paid a price for it. There used to be a burning in his body. Okay. So anyway, dakha de, show yourself to me, show yourself to me. I want to see you. Such was his intensity that one day, because he was not getting the vision of the Divine Mother, he took a sword and was about to cut off his own neck. And then the Divine Mother appeared to him. So that is the violence that Sri Aurobindo is talking about. Right? The kingdom of heaven by violence. You have to show yourself to me. A demand.
Yes.
So this is what he's saying. The kingdom of heaven by violence. Okay. Sri Aurobindo writes to his wife Mrinalini also, in one place he says that I have come to know that there is the divine, and now I have made a resolution that I must know him in every way, and that is the only purpose of my life. Therefore, if I seem to be neglecting you and all that, you have to understand. Okay? Because she is complaining that you are not supporting me, you are not doing anything for me. After he came over to Pondicherry, she used to live with her in-laws and her own family. And so she is writing to him that you are not supporting me in any way. And Sri Aurobindo replies to her in a very, explains his position, that this is what I have to do this. So, Ramakrishna's case cannot be generalized. We cannot do that. So, he is ruling out two methods. One method, practicing all together, and the other, practicing one by one. Both are not possible. Then what should we do? So, that he will tell you. Okay? Over 2-3 paragraphs. But basically, so that we understand this, Sri Aurobindo does not tell you, I am going to do this in 2 sentences. He goes one by one, and then it's up to you to get the essence of each para and say, oh, so this is what he's saying. Okay? So, he doesn't tell you what he's going to do. That's his style. Okay, so, it might be useful to tell you from before what he is going to say. He says we should look for a common principle in all of them. And the common principle that we will use is, we go through the Divine Mother. We surrender to the Divine Mother. That's his main. And of course, the system is, in the Mother is very clear in the first paragraph itself. First of all, an aspiration above. Constant aspiration through remembrance. The second one is surrender to the Divine. Don't all the events that happen in the world, there are unhappy events and happy events. Happy events we exult. We become very happy and we are excited. And unhappy events we suffer and we react. So both of them should be accepted as though they are coming from the Divine with as much calmness and equality as you can. And the third method, rejection of all that is an obstruction in you. Negative things that you perceive in yourself, you have to reject. Keep rejecting, keep rejecting. So this is essentially these 3 things with surrender to the Divine Mother.
The beautiful first paragraph in the Mother.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
That's right. The triple effort. Aspiration above, surrender.
And divine grace from above that answers.
And the rejection of everything. That is negative in you. Okay? So, but the basic thing is the Surrender to the Divine Mother. We go through Prakriti in Swaramdas Yoga. Most of the other yogas you go through Purusha, but here in Swaramdas Yoga you surrender to the Divine Mother. She will do everything for you. This concept is not absent in the Advaita philosophy. It is there. There are many texts. One text I read where they are stressing, they are not even talking of the Ishvara. They are talking only of the Divine Mother. She will do everything for you. Surrender to her. Even in the Advaita philosophy it is there, the concept. So just keep that last sentence in mind, or rather the last phrase. Towards this sole good we have to drive, and this attained, that is the divine we have to go to. All the rest in the divine will chooses for us. All necessary form and manifestation will be added. Form and manifestation in the physical world. What you need to do and what you don't need to do. Surrender to the divine, and the divine will decide for you what you should do and what you should not do. You don't decide what you want to do.
This is something that I find the young people are struggling with. They can't quite believe that they shouldn't do anything.
Yeah, that's a very common thing. But all yogas agree that you are not doing anything. It is nature that is doing. There is no freedom at all in you. It is nature that is doing anything. This concept has been stressed in all the yogas. Okay, so we can explain this in many ways. It is nature that is making the river flow. It is nature that is putting the sunlight. It is nature that is making the tree grow. The tree is not growing by itself. Exactly in the same way, your body is also growing by nature. You are not growing your body. So, your body, your vital and your mind are being acted upon by universal nature. But you think you are doing. Exactly like the tree is growing, but the tree doesn't think that I am growing. It accepts what nature is doing. Nature is doing exactly the same thing for us. But because we have an ego, we think we are doing. It's not true. The body is activated by physical forces, the vital is activated by vital forces, the mind is activated by mental thoughts. And mental thoughts, vital forces and the physical forces are all universal nature. You have no freedom.
And how do you get from universal nature to the Divine Mother?
Yeah. The Divine Mother is a conscious universal mother. Nature is the fallen condition of the divine nature. You see, it seems to be unconscious, but there is no real unconsciousness. When the river is flowing, you feel that it is unconscious, but there is consciousness hidden deep inside. Okay? So, this is what, so when you go to the self, you escape by any of the yogas, you escape in your soul, goes out of your body, mind, life, and you reach the self, which is the Atman, or you can call it the self. You realize that you are doing nothing. Nature is doing everything for you. The body continues, the mind continues to think, the emotions are going on in the body, but you are outside. Your soul or consciousness is watching everything happening there, and now you realize that you are not the doer. Doer is universal nature. This is one of the big turning points in yoga. To realize that you are not the doer. It's ignorance that makes you feel that you are doing. That is what is meant by you have no freedom at all. You are being manipulated like a puppet by nature. But you don't know it. Because of ego, we feel that we are doing. Okay? That's why he's saying, all the rest of the divine will chooses for us. All necessary form and manifestation will be added. Form and manifestation are in the physical world. Your form and what you have to do in the physical world will be decided by the divine. In the beginning, we are deciding, but actually it is nature which is pushing you to do what you think you are doing.
We could take for a moment Shraddhavan, who built Savitri Bhavan.
Yeah.
I feel that she fulfilled her purpose in the world.
She was impelled by her own nature, universal nature, through her own individual nature to do it. Okay. So, we read
the synthesis we propose.
Now Srimdo comes to the synthesis that he is proposing. The synthesis we propose, and this is a style that Srimdo uses all the time. Whenever he says we propose, he means that I am proposing, but he doesn't use the word I anywhere. Very rarely, only in one or two places,
Very rarely,
he uses the word I.
Yeah.
Okay?
And very often in Savitri he uses as if.
Yeah.
As if this happens. He doesn't say it is happening or it does happen, but as
here
if.
also, in Life Divine and Synthesis also, he does the same. He takes you by the hand and slowly, gently shows you all the possibilities. So, the synthesis we propose cannot then be arrived at either by combination in mass or by successive practice. Both he has ruled out. It must therefore be effected by neglecting the forms and outsides of the yogic disciplines and seizing rather on some central principle common to all, which will include and utilize in the right place and proportion their particular principles, and on some central dynamic force which is the common secret of their divergent methods, and capable therefore of organizing a natural selection and combination of their varied energies and different utilities. We'll finish the para. This was the aim which we set before ourselves at first when we entered upon our comparative examination of the methods of nature and the methods of yoga, and we now return to it with the possibility of hazarding some definite solution. Hazarding some definite solution.
Yes.
He's so humble.
Yes.
So, we'll try.
And he uses we there many times.
Yes.
Meaning himself.
Yes. So, one thing which he will do, he has examined, we are in chapter 5 now, but earlier he has also said that there is a natural evolution in nature. So, we will work in tandem with, not against nature. We will work with nature and go along. We will see what universal nature is doing. There is an evolution upwards, and we will also go parallelly with that. So, that's what he will do. So, now he is going to examine what is common to all the systems.
But I do have to ask you, when we have poisoned the lakes and rivers, when we have put toxic elements in the atmosphere, we are not collaborating with nature.
No, we are not. And that's not yoga at all.
So, are these floods and heat relative to nature's response? Possibly?
No, but these people who are doing that, okay, are they doing yoga?
No.
So he's talking of those who are doing yoga. There are hundreds and hundreds who don't do yoga. They just live an ordinary life, impelled by nature. And they think they are doing. And that's another thing that you discussed. That is he has discussed in the delight of existence, the problem and the solution in Life Divine. How is it? Because everything is given its a right to exhaust its possibilities. It can be good, it can be evil, anything. Okay? Everything is given a right to exhaust itself. Every possibility is explored and concluded in nature. So that's another discussion altogether. We'll have to see that. So he says, now we will see what is common to all of them. He is telling you that there is a dynamic force which is a common secret of their divergent methods and capable therefore of organizing a natural selection and combination of their varied energies. There is mental energy in Jnana Yoga, there is emotional energy in Bhakti Yoga, and there is physical energy also in the Karma Yoga. So all these energy seems to be common to them. So what is that energy? That he will look at. So let's go to the next para. We observe first that there still exists in India a remarkable yogic system which is in its nature synthetical and starts from a great central principle of nature, the great dynamic force of nature. Shakti, the power of nature. So that is common to all, and it is very much used in the system that he is talking about. That's the Tantra, the Tantric discipline. After we finish, we'll see what is common with Tantra and Sri Aurobindo's philosophy. Okay, so we observe first that there still exists in India a remarkable yogic system which is in its nature synthetical and starts from a great central principle of nature, a great dynamic force of nature. But it's a yoga apart, not a synthesis of other schools. This system is the way of the Tantra. Owing to certain of its developments, Tantra has fallen into discredit with those who are not Tantrics, and especially owing to the development of its left-hand path, the Vama Marga, which, not content with exceeding the duality of virtue and sin, and instead of replacing them by spontaneous rightness of action, seemed sometimes to make a method of self-indulgence, a method of unrestrained social immorality. Nevertheless, in its origin, Tantra was a great and puissant system founded upon ideas which were at least partially true. Even its twofold division into the right hand and left hand paths, Dakshina Marga and Vama Marga, started from a certain profound perception. In the ancient symbolic sense of the words Dakshina and Vama, it was a distinction between the way of knowledge and the way of Ananda. Okay? The left hand path is the way of Ananda and the right hand path is the way of knowledge. Nature in man, liberating itself by right discrimination in power and practice of its own energies, elements and potentialities, and nature in man, liberating itself by joyous acceptance in power and practice of its own energies, elements and potentialities. But in both paths, there was in the end an obscuration of principles, a deformation of symbols, and a fall. So, here he is dealing with Tantra very briefly.
Yes.
But Madhav Pandit has a very good book on Tantra. He knew all about it. We can have a brief discussion on the Tantra method.
But he was the disciple of Kapali Shastri.
Yes.
And
That's
Kapali
right.
Shastri was the disciple of Ganapati Muni. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And Ganapati Muni came to see Sri Aurobindo.
I heard that
Yeah.
story, yeah. You could tell that.
Yeah, not much is written about it, but he did come. Ganapati Muni was very highly respected in his time.
Mother wanted him to stay. She asked him to stay.
Uh-huh.
And he said, "No, Mother, I'm a wanderer."
Yeah. So he was from Andhra, but he went and settled in Bengal. Where that now? Kharagpur. I think he was there.
There's
And
a story about him that I have heard, maybe you know it better, that he was standing outside the ashram gate and they wouldn't let him in.
That was common to many people at that time.
And Mother said to one of her secretaries, "Who is that person who is calling me so strongly? Let him in."
I have not heard of this, but it's very interesting and very believable.
Yes.
Because nobody was allowed to come that time to see Sri Aurobindo very easily, because the English were still trying to get him out of Pondicherry.
Right.
Okay? So he was very strict about not having any contact with outside elements. Okay? So everybody had to take permission before coming. I'll give you two examples. Even in 1950, okay, I have a 90-year-old in my place, and when he was a 16-year-old, his name is Parikshit. Maybe you know him.
Parikshit, yes,
Yeah.
I know him. Very
He
well.
was running the Kozanov garden. But now he's 90 years old, his dementia has set in, so he doesn't remember anything. And he was a 16-year-old, and when he saw a newspaper report about the ashram, he ran away from home and came here. Okay? He was 16 years old. And when he came, they scolded him. Why have you come without permission? Who asked you to come here? So, but somehow he managed to meet mother. Nolita came out and met him. And then mother told him, yes, you will go and work in the press and all that. She gave him some work and all. When my father also came first time, my father read the Mother. And that changed his life. So he came to see in 1943. He came here.
43.
Yeah. Wow. And it was very difficult. Because you can't come without permission. How did you come without permission? But there were a few people from Andhra also. So somehow or other, he managed after a few days. And mother gave him permission to bring the whole family. So all of us came in 1945. My father, my mother, my elder sister and my younger brother. All 5 of us came. And we used to stay very near the ashram. We were given a place where we were staying there. So it was difficult to come at that time, yes. And Ganapati Muni had also met Ramakrishna also. He was highly respected in his day. He had poetry in him. He used to write poetry.
Yes.
So, Tantra. So, the traditional yogas in India, they go through the Purusha aspect, the consciousness aspect. Okay? Even the Bhakti Yoga, they go through the Purusha aspect. Tantra goes through the opposite. It goes through the Shakti aspect. In the highest level of consciousness, you have Sat, Chit, Shakti, Ananda. Sat is existence or subtle substance. Chit is consciousness. Shakti is force, power. They are different. Usually, Chit is considered male and Shakti is considered female. But this is a conception only, and you have to understand it the right way, because it is executive. Chit has knowledge. It gives the power, the way to use its power. Okay? And there is Ananda. So these are all there. And most of these traditional yogas, they go through Purusha aspect, concentration on the existence aspect and the conscious aspect. Tantrics go through the Divine Mother, Kali. They worship the Divine Mother. They worship the Shakti. And that's why they get power also in life. The other yogas don't get power. They go to the self and they are liberated, they are very happy. But Tantrics want power in the world. And there are misunderstandings about Tantra. Tantra practices all sorts of things which you would consider disgusting. But the reason is, in yoga, you must have disgust for nothing. You must be absolutely calm and quiet and without any either too much of attraction or distraction or repulsion. You must have none of these. You must be absolutely calm. So they train themselves to do this by doing those things which are forbidden. So they drink and they womanize. They drink even from a skull. They drink. They even go to the extent of, sometimes it's an extreme case, but they eat human flesh. They do all these things to teach themselves to remain absolutely without any reaction. So these are much misinterpreted and they are also thought to be perverse. But this is the truth behind it. So
that's the left hand, basically.
Yeah, that's the left hand part.
Yes,
that's
yes.
right. Okay.
Can you tell us a little bit about this tantric yogi that Mother sent a number of people to?
Yes. His name was Neelakanta Shastri, and he was in Rameshwaram.
Yes.
In that island, in Rameshwaram, at the tip of Kanyakumari.
Right.
He was there, and he was a chief priest there. And he used to come here, and he was a tantric. He had 3 children, and not that he used to drink or anything, but there was no, mother found him very pure. He was a tantric. And tantra is not very common in India now, but at one time, Tibet was a big center of tantra. Okay? Milarepa is the name of the...
Milarepa.
Milarepa was he could even fly through the air. I mean, so much power he had got. So there are many characters like that, but Tibet was one, Bengal was another center, and South India also there are some. But usually in India, Tantra is not so common, but it is a very powerful system, as Sri Aurobindo is saying. Now, what is common in Sri Aurobindo's yoga and Tantra? There are 3 things which are common. Number 1, you don't reject the physical world. In fact, Sri Aurobindo does not recommend drinking and smoking. Okay, he doesn't say that you. But the tantrics do that. Okay, they indulge in sex also, and here that is not there. But you don't reject the physical world. The other systems are rejecting the physical world. Too impure and too full of perversion and full of falsehood. Not possible. Full of untruth. So we reject it. Permanently imperfect. That's a concept. Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, that's a concept. But, so Tantra and Sri Aurobindo both, no rejection of the physical world, no running away from the physical world, accepting it. The Tantras go one step more and do everything that you are not supposed to do. Okay? But that's to teach themselves to remain calm and quiet. Then, the second thing, Ananda is the aim of life. Enjoyment. But enjoyment in the right way, not the wrong way. And what's the right way? Without attachment, without ego, without desire. Get Ananda without attachment, without ego, without desire. So, there are many who are Puritans and say, enjoyment, no, that will lead you down the vital path. Don't do that. No enjoyments. But no, Tantra also wants to enjoy. But that's the problem with the Tantra. That when you want to enjoy, you fall a prey to the left-hand path. And there's a fall in standards, as he says. So that's why it earned a bad name. But originally, the intention was absolutely pure.
Do you remember Eleanor Montgomery?
Yeah.
She told me she practiced left-hand Tantra.
She?
Tantra left hand. She practiced.
It's very interesting.
Very interesting.
Because there's a beautiful... Amal has reproduced that letter in his book, Life Literature Yoga. Okay? She is writing to Sri Aurobindo, the experience that she had. It's very interesting. And I'm not surprised that she wanted to follow this path, because she experienced the self when her husband was making love to her. And she's written that. She said, I gave myself because it's a woman's duty to give yourself to your husband. But she experienced the self at that time. So where is this morality going? There's no morality.
Exactly.
So it's a beautiful letter. And then she says that she used to carry this book, The Mother, with her. And she used to keep it covered, because if it was open, in public she would start crying. So people would wonder what she's doing. So she used to always keep the book covered without showing what it was. And then she came here. She came here several times.
And she would sit right next to Mother.
Yes.
Always.
That's right.
We were good friends.
You were?
She and I, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And she told me many things. For the first time, she gave me a blessing packet that had such heat in it. It was, my whole hand was hot from the blessing packet.
So, Tantra and Sri Aurobindo Yoga have 3 things in common, as I was saying. Okay? The first is the worship of the Divine Mother. The first is the non-rejection of the world.
Right.
Second is the worship of the Divine Mother, surrender to the Divine Mother. And third is the enjoyment is the purpose of life. Enjoyment, Ananda must be there. The other systems, they are escaping from the world and having liberation, peace, calm, freedom. They are not so much interested in anything else. If Ananda comes, well and good. Sometimes it can come in the self, but very often it's not there. For Sri Aurobindo, there was no Ananda at all in his liberation. He said when first he had the experience of the Nirvana, the self, it was absolutely calm, peaceful, no emotions of any sort. Complete detachment from the body, mind, life and the world. The world became absolutely unreal, but there was no reaction in him at all. No Ananda, no power, nothing.
No power also.
No, nothing. Only peace and calm. Later on, when he waited patiently and didn't take this to be the final, those things came later on. They came much later. So these are the three things. So Sri Aurobindo is calling it a remarkable system. Na? So you see that? But it went wrong. And it became an excuse for vital enjoyment. And that's why it lost its reputation and people thought that they are, to a certain extent it's true also, that they earned a bad name. But he's saying that the left-hand path and the right-hand path through knowledge aspect. They didn't practice all these things which the others are condemning. No, they didn't. But the left-hand path, they did that. They were all these things were there. They would sit over dead bodies to get rid of the sense of disgust.
I heard many things. Yes.
Okay, they go and meditate in the smashan, the burning ghats, where the dead bodies are burnt. They would do that. So anyway, so this is but so Sri Aurobindo is going to use the principle that Tantra is using to go through the Divine Mother. Surrender to the Divine Mother. Use that energy. If you are going to reject the physical world, power is not necessary. Only concentration is necessary to go up. But here you have to use the power aspect also. No running away from the world. So he has explained to you that the Tantric had two principles and it's a remarkable system, he says, and there's some truth in it. And the truth is that you could go through consciousness, but you can also go through power. That's the thing. If, however, we leave aside here also the actual methods and practices and seek for the central principle, we find first that Tantra expressly differentiates itself from the Vedic methods of yoga. In a sense, all the schools we have hitherto examined are Vedantic in their principle. Their force is in knowledge. Their method is knowledge, though it is not always discernment by the intellect, but may be, instead, the knowledge of the heart expressed in love and faith, or a knowledge in the will. Knowledge in love and faith, Bhakti Yoga. Knowledge in the will, Karma Yoga. Following out through action. In all of them, the Lord of the Yoga is the Purusha, the conscious soul that knows, observes, attracts, governs. The aspect of knowledge. But in Tantra, it is rather Prakriti, the nature soul, the energy, the will in power, executive in the universe. It was by learning and applying the intimate secrets of this will in power, its method, its Tantra, that the Tantric yogin pursued the aims of his discipline. And what is the aim? Mastery, perfection, liberation, beatitude. The beatitude aspect is not there in the other one. Neither is mastery there in the other ones. They are running away from the physical world's difficulties. So here Tantra is not running away. Mastery, perfection, liberation, beatitude. Beatitude also is not there except in the karma, Bhakti Yoga.
Bhakti.
Instead of drawing back from manifested nature and its difficulties, he confronted them, seized and conquered. But in the end, as is the general tendency of Prakriti, Tantric Yoga largely lost its principle in its machinery and became a thing of formulae and occult mechanism, still powerful when rightly used, but fallen from the clarity of its original intention. It started practicing only the forms, that is, drinking, as I said, indulging in sex, and going into these things, drinking wine from skulls, sitting on dead bodies, eating human flesh. It became more, it went towards that aspect.
Was Theon a tantric in Algiers?
He was not a tantric, I think. And tantric
He was
is
an
a-
occultist. We know that.
Huh?
He was an occultist.
Yeah, he was an occultist. And in Tantra also you get certain vital powers. So occultism is there. Somebody mentioned occult
Yeah.
mechanism.
Yeah.
So this black magic is often also attributed to the tantrics. That's why they earned a bad name. Because they lost the original principle and the original vision. That what is that? Mastery, perfection, liberation, beatitude. They lost that and they got stuck only in the outer formulae. Okay? Continue to do all those things but without the intention and the aim. So that's why they fell from the path. Same is saying that clearly, but fallen from the clarity of their original intention. So, it's not discussed much. So we don't know really how many tantrics there are in India today at present. But until recently also it was there.
But they
now
all have a power.
yeah. That power aspect is there. In fact, this that Englishman, Arthur Avalon, who wrote that book, The Serpent Power, he wrote it under his pseudonym. I forget the name that he used. Okay, but Arthur Avalon was his real name. So he wrote that book, The Serpent Power. He was in constant touch with tantrics. And he mentions one incident where there was a scorpion coming, and the tantric, just by looking at it, it burnt this scorpion. So they have so much power. Like Theo also and Madam Theo also had so much power.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Power in the physical world.
And I believe we discussed last week about when Mother said that the first sign of the supermental will be power instead of love.
Yeah.
Love will come, but it has to be power first. It has to withstand the whole negativity of the world. Thank you, Ranga. Namaste. Namaste.